Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. My name is Tate, and I'm here today to talk to you about a new Pixar film. I'm here to talk to you about Inside Out 2, the long-awaited sequel to the multi-award-winning Inside Out 1, which took the world by storm. People loved that film. People absolutely adored it. I've seen it on a lot of people's kind of favorite Pixar film lists. I was very excited about, the release of this film because I really enjoyed Inside Out 1. I thought it was a brilliant story about kind of, growing up and dealing with emotions and kind of all of those things going on in your head. And, we've loved Pixar over the years for the various different ways it's been able to, you know, be able to tell stories based on, your emotions and, what if toys have feelings, what if cars have feelings, all of that stuff. And they're able to actually kind of go into it a little bit deeper with Inside Out 1 and talk about kind of what if your feelings had feelings and stuff like that and how they kind of, control you and stuff like that. And it's a really good explanation for kids. And, I'll go into depth with that in a bit. But I want to actually hear from people at home. If you've seen Inside Out 2 yet, what you thought of Inside Out 1, memories of the first film and comparisons to the second film, as it is a sequel that kind of follows on from, not really the end of this first one because there's a bit of a time gap, but it follows on with the same trend as the first one and really explores Riley, kind of our main person whose emotions we're looking into as she starts to grow up. So please give me your thoughts on there below, and I'll do the socials towards the end of the video as well if people want to stick around for more videos and everything like that. So let's go into kind of talking about the first film, because the first film was directed by Pete Docter. It was written by Pete Docter, and it's one of his masterpieces. He's done some great films for Pixar and everything like that, but this one was absolutely one of his best. And I want to say that it was nominated for Best Picture. Like it was one of the last Pixar films to be nominated for Best Picture, one of the last animated films to be nominated for Best Picture. That might be a common misconception, but I distinctly remember it being, and people talking about it being nominated and stuff like that within that same bracket. It was fantastic when it came out and released. It won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, heralded by a lot of people and everything like that. It wasn't actually nominated for Best Feature. It won for Best Animated Feature, and it was nominated for Best Writing, Best Original Screenplay. Which I'll be perfectly honest, it has a fantastic screenplay. It had brilliant characters, played by the likes of Amy Poehler, and loads of other stars involved, with all the different emotions and everything like that. You've got Lewis Black, you've got Tony Hale, Philip Smith, loads and loads of different brilliant voice acting work done for the original film. Now, with the second film, there are loads of different kind of changes to the story that they've gone and made. For example, to start off with, introducing new emotions. And the whole point is, as you grow up, your emotions not only become more complex, as is the story in the first film, where the moral of the story is, you can't focus in on individual emotions. You can't focus in on just joy. You can't focus in on just anger, just sadness, all those different things. Your experiences in life are a mixture of those emotions, those complexities put together. This film explores it even further by having extra emotions come in through puberty, and they make really quite funny jokes about kind of, puberty being a big red button and, all these different emotions kind of flooding in and, things being left chaotic and everything kind of going out of whack and everything like that. And we get introduced to these new emotions, and Riley has to deal with them, and understand herself with them and try to kind of navigate a weekend with them is basically what the plot line to the story is. So a basic kind of plot synopsis is, follows Riley in her teenage years and encountering new emotions. So we get to meet our new emotions, which are anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui, which I'll be perfectly honest, don't really speak French. I don't really use the term ennui at all. But it's basically that cool kind of shrug it off emotion of like, yeah, whatever, kind of, that apathetic kind of, like just go with the flow kind of, almost too cool and too bored for anything to, really matter or care, which is an emotion that people would have all experienced going through their teenage years, which it's a fantastic kind of demonstration of kind of the writing team and, the introductions of these things as Riley begins to kind of grow up. And the entire plot is centered around Riley's weekend at a hockey camp. So, from the first film, we learned that she's really into ice hockey. It's one of the things that she misses when she moves away from home. And at the end of the first film, and even in the Pixar short film that came along with it, which depicted Riley kind of going to hockey camp and, liking a boy and everything like that. This film follows that even further and really delves into it as she begins to actually gain a personality. We see her friends, she's got really close, she's a kind person, but she also is deeply, deeply in love with ice hockey and, has that as her main kind of sport and her main outlet in life. And that is kind of what she wants to focus her life on. The idea of, if she does well in this hockey camp, she maybe has a career where she can go to college or even high school and, play hockey and do all those things and base her entire career off that as kind of a sporting dream. But the problem comes in when we get all these different emotions, including anxiety, which is kind of the main emotion coming in, played by Maya Hawke, which I was really surprised by. I did not, I hadn't seen any casting information beforehand or anything like that. After the film was over, I looked at the IMDb and it was like, oh, Maya Hawke played anxiety. Oh my God, yeah, okay, that makes so much sense. I can hear it in my head now, with her voice and everything like that. But she plays it fantastically, that kind of manic, all over the place, everything's under control, but everything's on fire kind of personality that comes with it. And anxiety pretty much completely takes over the show. And, the rest of the emotions, the kind of the base level emotions that were there from the start. So we're talking joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, kind of get completely thrown out. They get kind of, cast off into the wasteland that is, Riley's thoughts and dreams. And, the show gets run by the new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, ennui. These four emotions completely take over Riley. And the entire mission is Joy kind of rallying the original emotions and trying to kind of gain back Riley's sense of belief. And this is a good thing as well that I like that they expanded on the first film, is that they not only have, those emotions tied down, but because Riley is growing up, Riley's starting to gain sense of beliefs, different belief systems that she believes in herself, that she believes in others, and all of those different things that come along with emotions. And you've got to commend Pixar for making it a more complex story in that sense, and really showing that, people change with age and there are different things that come in with age and everything like that, but also keeping it really rooted in that kind of, explaining it to kids and explaining it to adults in a way that is really believable and really visually stunning. Like Pixar, even the bad films, even the films that have not been good on their recent run, they've been at least visually good. They've never kind of lacked in that department, and the textures in this film and, the stylization and everything is brilliantly put together, so well animated and so well kind of, explained and just visually stunning and everything in that ground. It's really is. It's a good film in those aspects. It's a really, really good kind of, extension to the first film. I do have some kind of smaller things with this film, which, I wasn't as impressed with. There are large swathes of the film where, just like in the first film, you have joy and sadness going on their road trip together, learning to be with each other and everything like that. I enjoyed the fact that we got more from disgust, we got more from anger, we got more from fear, and more from sadness and joy, of course. But it did feel very samey to the first film. They get kicked out of main hub, they have to go on an adventure to get something or gain something back or get to somewhere and take it back. It does feel like a retread. There are more things added into it. So you have the Vault of Secrets, which has some really fun, amazing characters which get introduced. And, I wonder if they are kind of sequel-ish baiting with, the deepest, darkest secret, which has not yet been revealed. But there are certain kind of elements of the story that do feel like I'm watching the first film again. And Pixar have experienced and explored this kind of idea of growing up into a teenager, at least going through the starts of puberty and going through kind of growing up pains before in Turning Red, very recently in Turning Red, which I thought was a great film and I really enjoyed Turning Red, to the point where after watching this film, I went back and immediately watched Turning Red because I needed to compare this film to something, especially from recent Pixar, to be able to kind of give it an honest opinion and everything like that. And this film does well as far as kind of keeping itself distant enough from Turning Red and keeping its entire concept very, very different. But we do see a lot of kind of the same things we're growing up experienced in both films, and especially in this film as well, with the new emotions coming in and, anxiety taking over and all of those different things, you can absolutely tie those two films together quite easily because they explore very, 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 very similar kind of outcomes and very, very, very similar emotions experienced within each film. As far as, like everything else in this film, I enjoyed it. The plot is, even though I said it was very simple, it's very similar to the first film, it's still enjoyable. There's still jokes that the adults will understand, there's still jokes which the kids will love, and it's a good experience overall. It's Pixar almost getting back to their best, but not quite. It just falls short for me. It's not as good as the first film. The first film really does, kick you in the emotions, whereas this film is less of kicking you in the emotions and it's more of kind of showing the emotions and telling you to experience them. But I didn't feel those emotions and those experiences. Of course, I wasn't a teenage girl growing up. So maybe that is possibly why I didn't have that same connection to the film, but I somehow had that connection to the first film. So I do wonder if that is something that is maybe missing from the writing there in this second film. It doesn't have a hard enough emotional tie. We see Riley experience all of these new things, such as kind of meeting new friends and preferring them to her old friends and kind of shadowing off her old friends, having the motivation to become the best no matter what and don't really care about what gets in the way of it because that is kind of the definition of where you're going to go in your career. I felt those experiences myself, but I don't feel like I have a hard emotional tie to them. I'm a really competitive person, but at the same time, the competitiveness that is shown on the screen and shown there, I've never had that style or that experience myself. But in the end, it does a good enough statement of kind of telling the story of Riley and, expanding on it further. And once again, I wouldn't mind seeing an Inside Out 3 of Riley kind of growing up even further and emotions getting even more complex and going into that story or anything like that. I highly doubt they will, because I feel like at this point, if you go any older, not only are you kind of dipping into the Toy Story territory of, the people growing up with the first film and you have to explain the emotions and blah, 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 blah. But this story does have a definitive endpoint. It has a nice kind of, bright future for Riley, and, they would have to explore other things outside of, the emotions being involved, the beliefs being involved, and the experiences being involved. And that's really difficult to write in. I'd be really interested to see what they would come up with if they tried to go in that direction, if they tried to go with that concept. But I highly doubt that that will come in any case. I guess I go into my kind of final thoughts. I talked about the animation. The music is once again spectacular, just as if it was the first film. We do get different styles of animation in this film. We do get, 2D characters such as the baggy, or whatever it's called. You get a PS2 styled era kind of. We're talking Final Fantasy looking character who's quite fun, and I quite enjoyed that inclusion of that character, and it's nice to see the different art styles come in. Just like in the first film, they had a section where it was different art styles thrown together and everything like that. But overall, my thoughts of it were, I enjoyed the introduction of new characters. I enjoyed the kind of expanded effort to kind of, make Riley more of a personality in this film outside of the emotions. In the first film, it's a lot of the emotions happening. You don't really see the effect it has on Riley. You just kind of do the emotions and then you go. With this film, it really is a 50-50 split. 50% of the film, you see Riley out in the world, playing ice hockey, doing things in this hockey camp, making new friends, having those experiences. On the other side, and the other half of it, you have the emotions going through what their thing is, which is kind of, basically trying to fight back a coup in their mind with the new emotions coming in, everything like that. And it does have a nice kind of ending where, the emotions can get on with each other and you have that kind of final connection, everything like that. But either way, I think it falls short of the first film, and it's better from Pixar, but they still aren't. They're no longer the top of the animation game, which is sad to say. They were up there kings for so long, but other studios have come a long way since then. You've got the likes of Sony Animation, who are doing absolutely amazing with all of their projects they're putting forwards. DreamWorks are having a bit of a comeback right now with all of their films doing reasonably well. Leica, a new studio coming back onto the fore. We've got, Aardman still kicking about, doing some things every now and then with a new Wallace and Gromit feature/featurette thing coming out later on this year. So there are other animation studios which are still kicking and fighting. And even going into this film, we had a Minions trailer or a Despicable Me 4 trailer. We had a trailer for Moana 2. So there's a lot of animation films coming out this year, which are either sequels or, continuations of their own things. So it'll be interesting to see kind of, how good Inside Out does against that, especially because Inside Out was, not only nominated for, a Best Writing Oscar, but it also won in the Best Animated category. It'd be really, really interesting to see kind of how it does overall in that case. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of Inside Out 2. Please be sure to give us your comment on what you thought about the film. And, I'd love to start discussions. So, I want to hear your thoughts down below. I want to see what you thought about the film. I want to see what you thought about the first film, any comparisons to Turning Red, or any other films that you think would be kind of good as a double bill with this film in itself. And also, please follow us on all of our social medias. They're down in the description on our Linktree link down below. You can also go into the Redbubble link in the description and pick up some merch, which helps out the channel. And yeah, go and follow us for all of our videos that are coming out. And we don't just do film reviews on here. We're currently making our way towards the Doctor Who finale. We stream every Tuesday with an episode review. So we're going to have the episode review for The Legend of Ruby Sunday coming out this Tuesday. We also have The Acolyte going on at the moment. We love a Star Wars discussion on this channel. So please stick around on Wednesdays for that whenever those reviews come out. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.